Hey, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to The Drop, episode 9. I am joined with my bud and co-host, the one, the only.
Jordan Mitchello.
That's your name?
I forgot, dude.
I always forget my name, too. Actually, I don't know. Who am I kidding?
I'm dad at home all the time, so here I'm.
Daddy. Should I start doing that? This is my co-host and buddy, Dad.
You gotta add the Y.
D.
No, let's not do that.
All right, fine.
I could call you Randy. Randy and
Dad. I don't know. We're getting off topic.
Yeah,
this is a snowboard show. It's serious.
Snowboards.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because today's episode is actually going to be all about snowboards. We're not necessarily going to be talking about like kinds or stuff like that, but more general about like brands that have come and gone, brand identity, things like that, I guess, right?
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Let's start with this. You have ridden for what snowboard brands thus far?
Oof. Okay, so first board, Andromeda. It's the first board I got for free.
No longer around.
Yep. Then in Capita for quite a while. M3 to M4.
Okay. No longer around.
To Artec by Elon.
No longer around.
Battalion, Academy, and then I get Flow from Ride sometimes.
You've ridden for all those brands.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But the M3 to M4 to Artec by Elon, it's all Blaze.
Okay, so majority of those brands that you mentioned are no longer even in business.
What about you? One of the most infamous. Well,
I started with.
Was it DC first?
Nope, Smokin'.
Pro model too, right?
I did have a pro model that later was like turned into a different graphic. They just took my name off of it because I ended up leaving Smokin' to go to DC.
Dude, side note, not to totally interrupt, but I just saw this limited board before I forget to tell you. It was
the DC Neff one?
No, it was a D23 Mikey LeBlanc, and his name is like faded out on it, and they sold all the boards that way the year that he went to M3.
Oh, crazy.
Like I just saw it on Facebook and I forgot to send it to you.
Dude, yeah, you should definitely send that over.
It literally like it says like MLB on it, and it's like
huh. That sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, sorry, dude.
Okay, no, anyway, so all good. So then I went to DC.
That's when I met you.
Yes. Yeah, because I was doing like DC Commune. Then I went to Tech 9. And then I did like a little weird phase where I rode a couple different kinds of boards before settling on Death Label. And that's what I'm still
What did you ride
now.
in between there?
I rode a dyno board for a little bit. I rode a signal board for a little bit. All were great boards. Both of those teams were pretty stacked up, and I just didn't really see much of like I didn't really see too much of a space for me with those brands. I still like those brands a lot, have a lot of respect for them. I didn't think I had a place. I didn't think that they had enough space for me as well. So I was just like, where could I go that I would really love? And yeah, and that was Death Label. Been with them since. So,
well, the infamous one in there is Tech 9. Like, do you know what happened with Tech 9?
So I don't want to overspeak because I'm not 1,000% sure, but I can tell you what I know. So what happened is Tech 9 kind of went through like a bunch of different owners, even while I was on the brand. So there was a company called Brand Base, which was based in Boulder, that owned them. Then we had another brand called Snow Jam, which owned them. And I believe that Snow Jam is still around, and they're the ones that own like Bula headwear, stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Italian brand. Long story short, it was kind of like a combination. Well, this is a long story long. Who am I kidding?
I think we're here for it, though, man.
Yeah. So one of the major things that was happening is we were orders were getting delivered really, really late. So when we got to Snow Jam, budgets started getting cut, and less people started working for the actual brand. And as a result of that, there were steps that were getting skipped. There was things that were getting missed. And we were getting, I think in the last episode I talked about how I rode for Eternal, and there was a couple times where like Eternal was like reaching out to me like, where's our stuff? But then you had Tech9 asking me to ask Eternal where's their check. But they weren't sending money because no products were ever arriving. Like they were getting, you know, I don't know if this still is the case, but the biggest sales weekend always was like Black Friday, right? After Thanksgiving, people would go and buy a new snowboard for their kids. Lots of places had specials. Well, Tech9 was delivering their products like late, and so shops didn't even have stuff yet for that weekend. And so then when the truck or whatever would arrive with all the Tech9 stuff, they'd be like, I don't like our bulk of sales is done, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want this stuff. But now we're sitting on a bunch of inventory, and that same thing happened like 3 years in a row, multiple years in a row. So with that being said, a bunch of money was short. Well, what happens when you don't have money? You have to cut budgets. So like I said, as you cut people, more budgets get cut. And I think at one point, at the end of the day, there was only like 3 employees really left at Tech9. You know, Cole Taylor, Eastone, and I want to say his name was Vic, out on the East Coast, who was like managing the warehouse.
So was the issue with supply coming overseas to the boards and getting?
It was partially that. It was partially that. It was, you know, there was a time where like stuff was just like stuck on a shipping crate, like stuck, you know, in just China
like
still.
Over COVID.
Yeah, you would think, but this was like way before COVID, obviously. But
yeah.
So yeah, long story short, brands, you know, shops stopped ordering. They, you know, Tech9 was owed a bunch of money from previous orders. And it was just like this constant thing that kept just getting like a snowball effect, right? And then basically what happened towards the end is they were just like, hey, we're going to keep. So basically what happened is they were like, there was a time where they were like looking for new investors and people to like purchase the brand, which we did actually wrangle up and found. But then when it came down to it, the owner didn't want to sell it and thought he could do better keeping it. But one of the stipulations with that was that he was going to fire the entire team, which was myself included, obviously. And so, yeah, technically that brand still exists today. It obviously doesn't have any of the original people. It obviously doesn't have the same team or any of the meat that was a part of it. And I think now it's just like kind of ran by one dude on the East Coast still.
And are the boards available in the U.S. or?
Yeah, you can still like go online. You can still go onto their website and buy stuff, but it's just not the same. Obviously, you know what I mean. It's just not quite the same brand, if you will. Yeah. And I know it was still a thing in Europe. And actually, this was actually kind of funny. So I haven't ridden for Tech9 obviously since like 2015, which is 8 or 9 years now, and I went onto their website in Europe, and dude, I could buy my board still, my model with my name on it. And I was just like, what? Like,
is it one of these? Is it that board?
No, it's not one of these. It was the one that came out later. But I was just like, I was blown away. I was like, what in the world is happening?
Full price, or was it like super?
It was discounted, but I'm like, they're still selling a board with my name on it. Like I no longer have a contract with you. Like you're still selling snowboards with my name on it, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously there's really not much I can do. It's like, oh, okay, like we'll send you, like I wanted to get like royalties for the last 9 years or whatever, but I don't even know what's going on. I don't even think anybody works there. So even if somebody did order a board, I don't even know if it
might not get
come. Yeah, it might just be like a floating internet space, but
kind of like that order thing you mentioned that happened with a brand that will not be named.
What was that?
Where you put an order in for something and it just didn't show up.
Oh, yeah, that's happened.
If you get a Tech9.
That has happened. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a shame. I wish that brand was still around today because it was one of the true, like, kind of like one of the truest, like, OG brands, you know?
Oh, it's iconic, man.
Yeah, it was super iconic, especially for a long time. But obviously a big thing about that brand was it wasn't the quality that you were necessarily buying those boards and those things for. It was, you know, you were buying into like a lifestyle and a team. And so when you get rid of like the team, it kind of
dwindles.
You're like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy this anymore.
Well, speaking of lifestyle in a cool way, you got to be the tight pants guy for a while.
I was. I mean, there was a lot of other dudes on there, like Messier obviously rode for Tech 9, you know.
But they always had like 1 to 3
Derek
tight
Dennison.
pant guys.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was the thing that was really interesting that I thought was kind of cool is like when that new owner came in, he very much was like, get rid of guns. Like, we want to get rid of this, like, this look, this like gang sort of thing, which I get. But at the same time, like, that was such a huge part of the identity of the brand. But I thought a really cool transition that we were trying to make was like media genres, or not media, but music genres, right? So like every single person on the team represented like a genre of music, right? Like I obviously was like metal, rock and roll, right? And then you had like Bradshaw Lucas, hip hop, rap, whatever. And then you had like Dylan, who was like, Dylan was kind of an enigma because he was kind of like a little Rasta. Like one of his boards was like full Rasta board, but he was also like kind of Led Zeppelin-y. And then you had like Derek Dennison, who was really like Led Zeppelin-y, kind of like classic rock style. Like it was cool because we kind of fit everybody into like you know, a stereotype of music, right?
Yeah,
which I thought was kind of a cool way to go about it. But yeah, just unfortunately there was just decisions that were made that, you know, and then getting rid of like certain people, like I just found it unfortunate. But
yeah. It's kind of like almost when a brand like Walmart's themselves, I feel like. You know what I mean? It's like a good quality thing, and then, they get bought up by Walmart or something, and the quality drops. You take away the team. You're just selling the brand.
The core
of
of it.
The brand isn't the brand anymore. It's
Correct.
just a logo.
Yep.
And whereas you can look at it and be like, oh, I recognize that logo, but it's just not the same, right?
Totally.
Like, what was it, Zoo York? I think you could buy their boards at like Walmart, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know where you could buy those boards. I mean, they were only around for a quick minute, which is interesting because, a lot of people don't even realize that Zoo York made snowboards for a bit.
I meant skateboards, but yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do remember the
that too.
snowboards. I remember talking to someone over there at one point.
Yeah. Yep. But so anyway, going back to brands going out of business and changing, I think a huge, some of the times it's not necessarily that the brand runs out of money or something else. It's that they get acquired by somebody else, right? Like Forum was acquired by Burton, right? And then Burton decided to dissolve Forum.
Well, to get rid of the competition, right? That's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, and that's how most business works, which is interesting, you know? It's usually bigger companies that buy up the smaller brands, you know?
But then being the smaller brand, too, you're kind of like, well, that's maybe the dream, too, to make some money. And
I mean, you know, a lot
most
of...
brands, that's how it works.
Yeah, well, I think, like a lot of like tech startups and stuff, their whole goal is to get acquired by a big, you know?
And then they'll work for the brand, make even more money.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah. But there's obviously been a ton of brands that are just no longer even around. I mean, just on, I guess on the set right now, we've got kind of two brands that are gone, the Shorties board and the Forum board. But I guess Forum is back, so it's a little different.
Forum's back. Does Shorties still make skateboards, but I think they got Walmarted.
Does Shorties still make skateboards?
Pretty sure.
Is it the same Shorties, or is it like a third rebrand of the same?
It's probably like maybe the same guys that bought Tech 9 bought Shorties. Like I feel like it's kind of the same.
Well, so that's funny that we were bringing that up too, because that's a whole nother thing. It's like rebranding, restarting brands. So just off the top of my head right now that I can think of brands that have been restarted, I got Forum, Kemper,
Joyride's a recent one.
Joyride is a recent one. Atlantis just got restarted.
I was sick to see Daniel Frank's Instagram the other day.
Is he riding one?
Oh, dude. I just posted on our Instagram. We should check
He's
it.
riding Atlantis, the new Atlantis board?
Shredding.
Sick. Yeah.
I wonder if they're still as stiff as they used to be.
Probably not. I'm sure it's made at the same factory every other brand is made at nowadays.
Damn, I'd ride an Atlantis. Those look pretty cool.
They actually do look pretty cool.
The same graphic, too, which is pretty sick.
But you know what's cool about theirs, I think, is that their graphic was kind of progressive then, so it's more of a relevant graphic now. To whereas like the Kempers, like they were trying, retro graphics or whatever, right? Mm. And it's like, dude, that died in the 80s. Like leave the neon pinks and the like weird crazy stuff.
Right now it's kind of what's the resurgence is like 90s, early 2000s, you know, like Jinkos are back. I don't know if they actually are, but like baggy pants like that are.
Flame font.
Flame, dude. Yeah, it's
yeah.
It's kind of funny to see now, but
it's really interesting because I've never understood. Like, I get if you want to have like a model that's like the throwback model or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. They do the entire line in like throwback retro graphics. But
yeah, so maybe there's a market for it. I don't know.
Well, I don't think so because I don't think Kemper's around anymore.
Dang.
And Kemper went like full on. Like they did bindings. They did like everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
So I mean,
that sucks. I know homie that rides their stuff.
Yeah.
He's repping it pretty good, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It's a bummer if it's gone.
I do not know what is the deal with that. I know that there was also a portion of Kemper, I believe, that was like not rider owned, but like if you could buy in to be like an investor in it. Like for like $5,000 you could like be a portion of it. Like not like a stock owner, but I don't know.
And then how do they market that? Like you get a new snowboard every year or something?
I don't know. Like I think you still have to pay for the snowboard. You're just like, hey, congrats, you are a part owner of a snowboard brand. I don't know. Maybe that's appealing to some people. But well, and then other brands that we mentioned that we personally rode for, like Smokin'. Smokin' no longer makes snowboards.
Make good boards too.
They did make good snowboards for sure.
I rode a Bozrec. Like that was made at Smokin', and that's like
a Bozrec was.
Yeah.
Which one was it? Which graphic?
Oh, it's the one with like this. They all said Bozrec with a squiggly line. It was a green base.
Was it like a black with green?
Black with
like,
green.
With like cursive writing?
Not cursive. It was one after that. That kind of had that weird.
I think I know which ones you're talking about.
It almost looks like the chocolate logo in a way. You know?
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
But that board
was that a Matty Ryan board?
I think it just said Bozrec. I don't even think it said the size on it.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, that's another brand that came and went. I think Bozrec is probably, or Bozung, I should say, has made a couple Bozrec boards lately, but I think he just has them himself. I don't know if anyone bought them or if he's even selling them for that matter. I'm not sure.
Damn. Dude, Matty's got his own YouTube now, traveling. It's really sick.
I have seen that. It is dope. Cool. Matty Ryan, dude.
Dude, best sick. Front 180 ever.
Yeah, he has a really dope one.
Still, dude.
Yeah.
He complimented me on a front 180 once, and I was like, like, dude, I went home. That's like, oh my god,
that's pretty G.
Yeah, not to toot my own horn, but that was like one of those.
I mean,
things
that's a good little like pat on the back for sure.
Yeah, but sick to see him doing stuff.
Yeah,
because Bozrec was pretty dope too.
I thought Bozrec was really cool, also, man. I mean, I've always thought Bozrec was cool. It's funny because there's a lot of those small brands. You know, like I think that people forget kind of how many like small snowboard brands there are. You know, like. I know that we've briefly touched before on like Montec and Dope and those kinds of brands, but I think one of the biggest things why they're so unappealing to me is just because it's so generic. It's so everywhere. Like I like small brands. I like small things. Not that like Volcom and that stuff isn't big, or isn't popular, but when it comes to like
started
snowboard,
out small and grew, and from that you're like even Capita, that was really small and grew, and it's now one of the biggest factories.
Yeah,
it's sick.
But like I've always liked the little guy. I've always liked the underdog. But I also like having the thing that not a lot of people have. You know, so like I like, especially like snowboards, bindings, like let's just talk small brands. I mean, starting with Academy is a small brand. Public, Joe's brand.
He's just 4 blocks away from here or something.
Yep. Gosh, like. Dinosaurs Will Die is a small brand. I mean, there's a lot of like small brands. Death Label is a small brand. Like, there's a lot of things that you can, like, I would rather support those kinds of brands personally.
Yeah,
I think. I know that Burton and all those brands have like, you know, they've got a ton of employees and they're doing a ton of things for snowboarding, which is great.
Well, then on the argument to their side too, right? Like, it's going to be a quality product that you know is gonna last. I think with a lot of these bigger brands too.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think that more than anything, it's just the fact that you know that they've got like a warranty program, right? Like,
which if you're a kid and you're spending a bunch of money on a board, like that's pretty nice to know, rather than getting to like run around, bring it to the shop. Shop's like, well, I've got to do this, that.
Yeah.
You know, and
I mean, I think though that there is a giant misconception though about like, oh, if I'm buying a Burton, it's a better snowboard.
Oh, for sure. I
Like,
agree.
or if I'm buying a Capita, I'm buying a better snowboard because it's a bigger brand. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, at the end of the day, a snowboard is made realistically of 4 items. It's got metal edges, a wood core, some like maybe some carbon stringers in the middle, and then epoxy and a plastic top sheet. Like, that's what every single snowboard is made of. And who knows? The person who's laying up those boards, like, a lot of people also don't realize that a lot of Burton boards are also made in China. Like,
Remember when we were kind of looking at if you were to make a board brand on Alibaba, and some of them had the prototypes were like Burtons.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. Like,
Yeah.
dude, yeah. Like,
I mean, a lot of their, like, especially lower end boards, like, that are, like, in big chain stores or, like, probably made in China. But long story short, I mean, there's no difference between somebody laying up that board and laying up a public board, you know? Like, somebody could miss the glue and stuff. Somebody could have mixed the blend of the epoxy that wrong that day. And there could be a whole batch of boards that's wrong no matter what brand it is.
that's true.
So you never really know. I mean, I see people break Capita boards all the time, you know? And I'm not saying there's anything against Capita. It could be the people riding them. I don't know. But at least I guess you would probably know that if you had like a major top sheet crack on your 3rd day of just riding a Capita board, they're going to warranty it. But
Yeah.
most brands, I guess, would. Like, I don't know a single brand that really wouldn't, you know?
No, I think there's just more hoops probably to jump through to
Yeah.
get it, to, you know, figured out with a smaller brand. But
Yeah. But yeah, I think small brands are really cool. I think big brands are also cool. But then there's also all the brands that haven't made it. Again, like we were talking earlier, about like Option snowboards. And I mean, yeah, Zoo York made snowboards for a bit. That didn't last very long.
Well, and
Millennium
then
3 that is no longer around.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there a thing where these brands have to be away for long enough and then they come back and people are stoked to buy them again, right? Like Forum right now. Like, it's
Well,
just
what do you
kinda
think
like,
about that?
I don't know, man.
What is your answer to that question?
I think it works for certain brands, like doing that and coming back. But then it kind of can look like you're just trying to fall into that. Right, like even like with a lot of movies right now, too, they're doing the remakes of something that came out when we were kids, right? Because like people our age are maybe in those positions to do that stuff. So I think like there is this nostalgia that we all have, you know, and then now we kind of have the money to like buy that stuff. Like mainly I'm seeing like mid 30, 40-year-old dudes out on hill on a Forum.
Yeah.
Because they have the money, they can afford it now, and like it works. But I don't know, some things should just be left to be, you know? Like, that was great. You can have the nostalgia, be stoked it was around, but like I'm not going to buy Jinko jeans again, you know?
So I think that the weird thing about Forum that's a little tough is that they did exactly what you just said. They are a nostalgia brand.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, they're not doing like, and yes, maybe a dude might go out and buy a set, like a $650 version of the exact same board that Capita makes. Like, I maybe they will. But I think that where they're going wrong is that they need to be marketing it as if it is a new brand, because they're missing out on an entire group of people, younger people, that don't even know what Forum is. And they're like, what is Forum? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited and kind of still waiting to see what they do with the team, like if and when they do that.
I don't think they're going to do a team. I don't think they have. I don't think they have the money. I think that they've put it all in boards, and I think that they're trying to sell through boards and trying to make that happen. But I don't know if they have the budget to like hire a team, because I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you want to actually have a team, you have to pay for a team, right? Like, you
but is that even happening these days? It doesn't
certainly.
seem
I
to
mean,
be
Sims
the same.
just did. Like, look at what Sims did 3 years ago. How they bought that entire team, you know, like, of really good dudes. Like, so they had
But
a
they're all
ton of
friends
money.
and stuff. So who do they have a ton of money?
Well, they're all friends and stuff because it was one dude who's friends with all those guys that hired all them.
Which is sick, which made a really cool brand.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I don't know how Sims is doing. I don't know if people are going out and buying Sims. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I got a friend actually who just was reaching out to me saying he's going to buy a Sims. He was stoked on that lunchbox board, I think.
I haven't looked. I'm sure if I saw the graphic about, oh yeah, that one. Like, and I think Sims has done a really good job. I just don't know how much it's reflectant in sales, you know? And obviously we know about it, but like, does the average consumer, does the average person know that Nick Baden is riding a Sims board?
That's what I'm saying. I have friends that like aren't, you know what I mean? Average consumer, I guess, that are like, what do you know about these? Like, they're stoked to see the brand.
So they are like interested in it.
For sure.
Well, that's good.
Which I hope they do well, but they're kind of doing what I hope a brand would do, and like bring on a team of friends, make a team video, go out, shoot together. Like that's just fucking cool to see, I think.
I mean, you're dead on with that. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think
there's a lot of hype.
That is the way to do it.
Yeah, because you know, we've talked about the forum thing, like when we first heard, like, whoa, is it coming back? What's going to happen?
Yeah,
and kind of still waiting to see what's going to happen, I guess.
Well, I think the hype about it was really cool at first, and I think that if they had come out like, and there was this big secrecy of it, I think that this is, in my head, the ideal way that the forum thing would have gone down. Now, this is with no money attached, right? So this is just like the dream scenario. I would have been like secretly hoarding like 8 kids, you know, for a new Forum 8, like 8 hammer kids that are like different on the spec, you know, different like niches of things, but one person to represent like every, you know, thing, but nobody knows that they're doing it except for like their friends. And then all of a sudden you release like almost like a team video, all new Forum 8, all new kids, fresh up and coming kids, probably some dust boxers, couple like insane, like Dusty, like let's just say hypothetically like Dusty Hendrickson, you know, as a slope style rider, like you just all, but I mean, obviously that's going to cost you like a couple $1,000,000 probably to like hire 8 kids and pay them a few $1,000s a month at least, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So to like hire that on, you're going to be spending a lot of money, but you could do this massive marketing thing about like the new Forum 8, all these kids, here's a whole lineup of boards instead of just here's one that's very like, here's 2 models of snowboards that are 100% directed at like our sort of like age group, I would say. Like they weren't like cool 90s, what the kids are liking nowadays, you know? I think you could have a few, but I think that would have been the perfect scenario. But it seems like they like shrouded this thing in mystery, released it for an outrageous price. Like, because I was actually thinking, I was like, dude, this would just, dang, Forum is back. This will be a cool board to buy as a collector. And then when I saw that it was like $700 or $699, I forget how much exactly it was, but
something like that.
It was really expensive. I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm good, you know?
Yeah.
And I just didn't really see that much behind it. But if you want a Forum branded Capita, go out and buy one, do it. But I think the only person that they have riding their boards is Denver Orr, you know?
That dude's sick.
He's super sick. There's no doubt about that. But he's one person, you know? They don't have like a bunch of people doing it. I think they gave a board to Ozzie Henning. Or who knows? Maybe he just bought it. I don't know. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think the nostalgia play kind of works, but I just feel that you need to decide, like, do you just want to sell a couple boards or do you want to completely rebrand as a new brand and appeal to everybody, not just the nostalgia people who knew what Forum is from 20 years ago?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's... Because, I mean, God, even
you got to come out swinging, I think.
Well, who's the only person? Well, okay, so who are the only dudes that are still riding currently as pro snowboarders that rode for Forum? John Jackson, Pat Moore. Like, those dudes rode for Forum.
Yep.
But are the only people that are still snowboarding to this day.
Ika Backstrom? Was he Forum?
Ika, yeah, Ika.
He was Forum.
Yep. Yeah, I guess ripping. Ika. I mean, but he's not, he's like the team manager of brands now. He's not really
he just put out a full part that was pretty sick.
I mean, Ika is really sick. But I mean, yes, you're right. Ika. Hey, JP, Jeremy, I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like dudes that are still like active pro snowboarders, still doing real stuff. I would say are those guys. I mean, it was really cool to see JP Walker back on a foreign board.
I was hyped when I saw
Yeah.
that, for sure.
And speaking of JP Walker, that reminds me of another brand, Stepchild. That was a brand that came and went. You know,
Kind of just slowly.
yeah, they were sick. I always thought that brand was so cool.
But they were the one, like exactly what you're saying, like bringing a nostalgia board in. They always did that one. Every year they'd have like one kind of fun board.
Yeah.
That was like 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not the whole line.
No, but their graphics were always so sick. They had like really good rip-off graphics of like
Do you know
the
who did
Marlboro
the artwork? 'Cause
cigarettes.
It was really cool.
I don't. They did a sick job. And I could be totally wrong, and you guys can correct me, and I'm sure you will, if I'm not correct in this. But I think that they kind of transitioned over to Dope snowboards. Not to be confused with Dope, the clothing brand, but Dope Snowboards based in Canada, which is really sick. Their boards are super dope too.
Yeah.
But I think that they're,
Dope.
Yeah, I think that they're, I think that there's a connection between the two there.
Okay.
Which would make sense. Canadian. But yeah, then there's even like crazy smaller brands like Marhar and like Weston and like backcountry brands. Like, I mean, there's brands like Karua Shapes. There's,
I know them. I didn't know the first two that you just said.
they're like small. I want to say one of them's a Montana based brand. But I mean, there's a bunch of different snowboard companies out there, and a lot of them are like dudes making them in their own places, you know. And then you go to Japan, there's like so many brands over there. There's like 12 snowboards. There's Gentem Stick. There's
How many? Do they have a lot of factories in Japan? Because that's where Death Label's made, right?
Death Label has some boards that are made there. Some are made in China at Yakui, which is also where like Gentem Stick's made, other stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, yes, there are snowboard manufacturers in Japan, certainly, but I'm not sure what all's made there. Okay. I know like Offshore Snow Shapes is over there, OFSR. Those boards are pretty sick.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah, God, there's so many different snowboard brands. It's kind of crazy, actually. It just depends what you want and how niche you want to get. And you've also got stuff that are like really custom made. I don't know. It's cool. But, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the nostalgia brands. I think that they're cool, but I feel like they're really hard to like maintain. Like every single one that I know of that's like come back hasn't really like been back, you know, kind of like came for a few years and then sort of fizzled back out. But
well, I like what Sims is doing. Truly, like I think out of all the brands that have like came back, I really do like.
Well, Sims really like never went away. That's what's so interesting about Sims.
Did they go away, or they kind of just?
Well, so
they did that resurgence in like the 2000s. I know a lot of people.
Well, so that was the, to my knowledge, there was like a couple waves of Sims. There's obviously Sims in the beginning, and then Tom Sims' wife carried on the brand, and I think that that's kind of when they went into like. The Dick's, or not Dick's Sporting Goods, but like Sports Authority, like I think took over the brand and like kind of mass produced like lower end sort of junky snowboards
like they
for a
owned
long
the brand.
time.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think that Tom Sims' wife, I'm spacing her name right now, but she still owned technically the brand, and I think that Sports Authority was probably licensing it or something like that and making it what it was. And then eventually, like when that was done, I don't know if Sports Authority went out of business or if they just decided to cancel that or what happened with it. But that's when like Never Summer started making them for a bit.
Never Summer made them? I didn't know.
Yeah, Never Summer was making Sims boards for a while. And then the new Sims that everyone is seeing, and I think that all fizzled out, but I think the new Sims now is Sims Japan. So it's actually Japanese Sims. And Japanese Sims has always been like killing it, which is really interesting, and has been a completely separate brand. Like it is still Sims, but it's like totally different thing. And now they've finally branched it back over to the U.S. But that's why you've got a bunch of like the dope like Japanese boarders riding for them.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
And I think Teddy Koo actually was like the team manager for a bit too.
Was he?
Or he might even still be for all I know. I'm not exactly sure, but so yeah, that new Sims is all like Japanese Sims. The other thing that's kind of interesting too is like, again, old Sims, like they kept trying to do these nostalgia graphics, like, oh, the Sims like Switchblade, and it's like that board, like that graphic's old. Like, move on. This is my opinion on it. I don't know if other people may have liked it. That's fine. Everyone has their opinion, but I was just like, quit redoing old graphics.
But that Lunchbox one, I'm gonna.
The new graphics are sick. Yeah,
really
the
good.
new Sim stuff is really dope.
I think some are kind of a pullback, but they're simple graphics that kind of work. You know.
Yeah.
Like I think Ride has done that with some of theirs, like where it works because it's
and like I said,
simple.
do one. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you do the whole thing, then it's marketed that way, and it's kind of playing off just nostalgia.
That's so funny that you just mentioned Ride, because I've completely forgot about this whole other topic about snowboards, which is ski brands that own snowboards, companies like Ride, which for those that don't know is it's owned by K2. You have K2, and then you have obviously like Solomon, Rosignol, Volkel, which some of those are more
still
Euro.
around?
I think that's all really like Euro based. Okay. God, we're forgetting about Nitro snowboards. There's also like Drake snowboards and all the European brands that are over there too. Like
But we're kind of just talking on brands that went away and maybe are
Yes.
coming back. Those brands have always been around.
Yes.
One you mentioned earlier was Joyride.
Yeah.
You said they're making a comeback?
They've been actually trying to make snowboards for like the last few years, but I think that they were under like a cease and desist from Ride. Like Ride was trying to say like you can't make those boards because you're using our name on it. But it's like I don't know, there was this weird
Do
thing.
they own the name or something?
Maybe they own Ride snowboards, but I don't know because it's Joyride snowboards. I don't know. I don't know what the problem was there. I mean, it was the word Ride.
Yeah.
Ride was the problem.
But you said they're making
But
boards
now I think that litigation or whatever it was that was going on is done. And so now they've been making snowboards again. I've seen a bunch of people riding their boards.
Really? Have you seen it out here? Like out
I haven't seen anyone
person?
out here in person, but I know that like Jade DeForge has been riding one. Sean Murphy has been riding one. So there's a couple people and I've like obviously on like those Facebook groups that we've discussed in the past, like I see people posting that they've like ordered them, you know? So they exist in their thing now, which is cool. But again, I don't know how long it's going to last or where that goes, you know? I don't know. I don't know if they're doing a team. I don't know.
I'd be curious to see what the boards look like.
Yeah.
But are they just doing throwback stuff too, or are they kind of
they are doing a throwback too. They're doing the old like flower, like the flower pot logo, you know?
do one of those and keep it to
Yeah, I mean, from all I've seen is they only have one graphic and one board, and that's it. But, I mean, and that's another interesting topic, too, is like, when it goes back to, like, Forum, like, they chose to try and do, like, really high-end quality snowboards. Like, would it have been better for them to make, like 3 or 4 boards in the line? One that was, like, gnarly heavy duty all mountain board, and then also do like a $399 like park board to try, because that's one way to like
bridge the gap and make it
get
accessible to other people
to
too.
younger and kids, is have a cheaper like park board.
Because you know where we ride, it's like it's pretty ideal to have a cheaper park
Yeah,
board.
like
that's
you would
typically what I'd choose to ride, cheaper to mid-range board.
Yeah, well, you're not going 60 miles an hour and doing like massive like side country groom like cutting like gnarly turns, you know?
True.
I don't know, it's interesting. Like, it's weird how every area has like a board that kind of suits it best, but it's really interesting also how those nostalgia brands that have tried to come back, like which route they've chosen to try and take it, you know?
Yeah.
Is there a brand that you've always been like, what was your brand like growing up that you were all about?
M3.
Same.
I know we talked about that.
Yeah, M3. I mean,
I know they're still around-ish, but
I don't think so.
no, they're done.
I mean, every once in a while you see like a newer graphic board and you're just like, what?
But it also could have been like from 2010 that we just didn't
never
see.
saw, because like the Rockstar, like, because they made those like Rockstar boards for a bit, like Jazz
made 'em?
Goldem on
They made his
Rockstar
board?
boards. Yeah.
I always wondered who made that board.
And they also made like bindings and like all kinds of stuff.
I've never seen. I knew Chaz pretty good when I lived out in
Yeah.
Tahoe, and he was riding that Rockstar board. I was like, what?
Well, Signal was making them, but I think that they like Rockstar did like an M3 board later. But I don't know if Chaz rode the M3 Rockstar one. I don't know.
Damn.
But it's yeah, God, there's so many weird brands, man. There's like not even weird brands, but just like it's interesting how certain brands have gone through certain phases and like all the other stuff. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, so I guess what I'm getting from this is, in conclusion, if you come back, start something new, don't just play off the nostalgia completely, right?
Yeah, you can have a nostalgia board and a nostalgia graphic. That's what I would say.
Create something new, and I think that's pretty sick.
Like, it needs to still be relevant to the young kids.
Yeah.
You know? Like, no kid who's going to go buy a forum board now is going to be like, oh, I'm going to go buy a forum board because of Ville Guillaume and the Forum 8. Like, not a single kid who would go out to the store right now and buy a forum would buy that. Now, a dude like our age would maybe go and buy a forum board because of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I were to, I'd be like, I'm going to do a front three just like that, dude.
Yeah,
you know,
because
like,
of Bjorn
that,
or
like, all
whoever.
in your head, and you're like,
yeah.
Yep.
But, I mean, at the same time, like, you can go on Facebook Marketplace and find an actual old forum board, you know? And if you really wanted to, you go strap that thing up and go to a front three.
Yeah. Cody Beardsdorf's out riding. He's been rocking the old forums, and it's so sick.
Dude, I saw Casanova on the old forum the other day. That's pretty tight.
He was like on forum back in the day.
Yeah. I wonder if that's, I mean, it must be.
Put him back on, dude.
God, that'd be so sick. Just,
that would be so cool.
I mean, they are putting all their old team riders back on, right? JP and Jeremy. No, I don't know. It's cool, man. I like seeing those brands back, but it's interesting also really to see what they're doing with it, you know? Mm-hmm. Well, good chat about snowboards.
Yeah, should we go snowboard?
We should go snowboard. Looks like it's maybe sunny out there.
Yeah.
But, all right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining in episode 9, board chat. If you guys want to leave a comment, and actually it would be kind of fun, tell us what brand you wish you could see come back, or let us know if it has come back, what brand you're riding now, and what boards you think would be cool to see come back. I don't know. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And as always, make sure you guys are subscribing, following along, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube for sure. And we'll see you guys later, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, dude.
Jordan?
That was fun.
Radical,
Let's go shred,
brother.
dude.
Let's go rip.
Adios, guys.